Tell me about the most common type of incels.
I would say that most incels are location cell, whether they realize it or not.
Oh, okay.
And the reason for this is when you see a lot of incels talking about their problems, and what you will see is when you ask them or where they say where they're from, almost always they're usually from a leftist, hypergamous, high population city or urban area. And they're usually from a place like LA, London, Auckland, New Zealand, some places in Australia, some places like New York. LA is the worst one though. In America, LA is, like, I've done a lot of research into the data.
Right.
And LA is the worst place to be as a young white or Asian male to find a partner, basically.
Right.
It's very, very, very hard for, it's actually very hard for men in general to find a partner in a place like this.
Right.
But there are, like, as I was talking about earlier, when I became very bleak and I hated all women, right? I did eventually learn, especially through meeting a lot of women who were from out of state and from other countries and from other places, that in, like, let's say middle America, more conservative or traditional areas where women are taught to care about themselves and care about being a mother and care about having a family and things of that nature, they tend to be a lot more receptive. They tend to be a lot more mentally aware. They can even hold a conversation a lot easier than people here. I think that how I look wouldn't affect me in middle America.
Right.
I think a woman would be able to see past my looks a lot more likely, and she would be able to see that, oh, this is a young guy who, he's decent personality-wise. He wants to have a job. He's stable, whatever, or
right.
Things of that
You're
nature.
right about that. What's another type of incel?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. There are a lot of different types of incels, but the main three, there's like three that I would say are the main three. There's location cell, there is mental cell, and then there is what I would call, I'm not really sure if this is the accurate term, but I would call it like abomination cell. And so a mental cell is someone who is an incel generally because of a mental condition that they have.
Oh, I see.
Usually it could be autism, it could be Asperger's, it could be a mental condition that they developed because of abuse, it could be various different types of mental conditions. What I would call an abomination cell is someone who is physically deformed, right? And or who is ugly, like really ugly. And they might not be able to get a girlfriend, even in a more traditional area, because they are actually physically deformed, right? They have, and that's very sad, but I would not say that the majority of incels are abomination cells. I would say that most, even whether they realize it or not, are location cell, just from my own examining of the data.
So, like, the community, for lack of a better word, are they like in touch with each other from around the world by the way of the internet?
Yeah. Before the term incel got popularized, as I was talking about, there was the image board on 4chan called R9K, and that's where a lot of young men would go, I think, first. That's when people started to realize that they didn't call it incel, but they would call themselves robots. So I guess it was a little bit more broad than incel at the time.
So there's no incel convention or anything?
No, there's no convention. And there's the reason for that as well is because a lot of incels are very awkward, and they're very sad, and they're very lonely.
Oh, I see.
And also a lot of them are very paranoid, especially from the constant attack that they've received a lot lately in the media, like CNN or Vice, HBO, Comedy Central. Lots of YouTubers have attacked them.
In what way?
So there's a lot of what I would call, like, I guess, hit pieces on incels, and they like to portray they like to attack these young men, and they call them sexist, misogynist. Some of them are sexist, right? But not all of them.
Right.
Some of them, and by the way, let me actually clarify that a little bit. The ones who are sexist, there's a reason why they're sexist. It may not be right that they're sexist, but the reason why they are hateful of women, let's say, and that's what I'm using as a definition of sexist. I wouldn't really, but the reason why they're hateful of women is because they've experienced bad women in their life.
Yeah.
If they experienced a good life, they wouldn't be hateful of women at all. But so one of the main reasons why the media attacks incels, I would say, is mostly because they're young white men for the most part.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of them are right-wing.
So is this because white men are under attack that a lot of young white men are becoming incels?
Yes, definitely.
Do you feel attacked as a young white man?
Well, not physically attacked,
Right,
but like
I don't mean-
socially attacked. I mean, and like status-wise, I don't feel like I can succeed in LA. Like I don't feel like I can get a job here. I don't feel like
Because you're white?
Yeah, especially
amazing.
because I'm a young white man.
And what does that feel like? What is that like knowing? Because you're right about it. It's not just a feeling. It is a reality. And so what is it like growing up as a young white male knowing that you're being intentionally discriminated against because of your color?
I mean, it's terrible, right? It's awful. Like, it pushes you into like extreme mindsets. You know, it pushes you into these views that you may not have had otherwise if you weren't attacked.